You're listening to the RPM Podcast.
Listen to it with your ear holes.
And here we are again. The RPM Podcast, episode 188. It is March 29th, 2021 at 8:17 p.m. We're getting a little bit of a late start tonight, only because we wanted to watch the dirt Bristol races. You know, the Cup race literally just got over with. We're going to discuss that a little bit later. I'm Scott Riggleman, your host of the show down here in Manchester, New Jersey. My brother, Tim Riggleman, America's Spotters up in Farmingdale, New Jersey. Tim, how are you?
I'm good. I'm all fired up. I've been eating Reese's peanut butter eggs, watching the race all day, so I'm ready to go.
And we have Josh and Matthew, who's the producer of the RPM Podcast, and we're out of town, New Jersey. Josh, how are you?
I don't know how I'm awake right now.
Me neither. I tell you, I'm tired, man. Real quick,
Peanut butter eggs will wake you right up.
Okay.
A quick personal life story. Me and Nancy both been busy working race cars. She works at an accounting firm. It's tax season. She's been 12, 13-hour days, 7 days a week. Well, Saturday night, I worked on Saturday instead of going to Turkey Derby. I chose to stay home and change my dirt car over to white 7X from asphalt to dirt because my next race is going to be Grandview, April 11th, with the Outlaw Enduro Series. So I worked on that all day Saturday, and then she was at her job all day Saturday, and we actually ate dinner together in the house. And at 7 o'clock, I'm like, Nancy, I'm going to go lay down for about an hour. And next thing I know, I was waking up at 6 in the morning. Like, I slept all night. It finally just caught up to me. I was exhausted from doing everything, and it caught up to me. So Sunday morning, we wake up. She's like, we're not doing anything today. We're staying in the house. We're getting stuff done here, laundry, dishes, clean the litter boxes, take care of the cats.
I thought you had somebody for that.
Yeah. We got to keep it decent, and we're getting caught up before our week starts, and we did, and it actually went faster. Then our plan was to sit home and watch the Bristol races together, but it poured down there in Bristol. Oh my God. I mean, if no one's ever been to Bristol, me and my brother's been to Bristol. Beautiful, beautiful country down there. You're in a valley between two mountains. Actually, one of the nicest racetracks you can go to in the country. The problem is there's like these rivers that run through it, right, Tim? There's little creeks that run through the campgrounds and right by the racetrack.
It's basically built over a river almost in the front.
Yeah, it basically is. And it's surrounded by rivers and small creeks, whatever you want to call them. But when it rains, it floods down there. And Bristol got hammered, and I'm like, there's no way they're getting this in. I mean, the parking lots flood, the campgrounds are flooded, the tracks flood. Of course, they got dirt on the track now instead of concrete, so they're not drying it, So unfortunately, that got canceled. Anyway, me and Nancy got everything done in the house, and then, her story went from we're not going anywhere and we're ordering food and sitting here till I want to go out, and so I want to go out to dinner. So we ended up at the Arc last night, with Tony Bartone's place. The guy that owns the 49 factory stop.
I drove by there today. I didn't see you.
We were there last night, and we ended up closing the place, staying there late. Tony all night.
While you're talking about that place, everybody likes to talk to me about food for some reason. I'm not sure why, but somebody asked me what we got talking about that place because the guy he owns a street stocker, so he races a factory stock or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When you go there, what's good to eat there? What's your specialty?
I mean, Josh has been there. Me and Josh actually had dinner there one night together.
Yeah. It was a date.
Yeah, it was a date. I think Nancy paid, so that's always a great date.
Oh, yeah.
Last night, I know that much. And I did go there with other racers. John Bowers was there. We had dinner with John Bowers and Kimmy Ling and Joey Payne. They were there with us also. So, racers supporting racers. We went and have dinner at Tony Bartone's restaurant. I mean, really, there's no bad food there. I just had a bowl of French onion soup last night. It was good. It was really good. Nancy had a cheeseburger that was awesome. I mean,
I go for the chili cheeseburger.
The chili cheeseburger. They got many different cheeseburgers.
And you can customize, pretty much anything. I think a lot of people like their seafood or whatever. I'm not a seafood person.
Josh, you crazy? Seafood. They got it. All their food's really good. The salads are good. Everything's good there. It's really, really good there.
Josh, you the kind of guy that goes out to a restaurant and no matter where you are, you order a cheeseburger?
Pretty much. Yeah. I will say, if I go to Houlihan's, they have a really awesome buffalo chicken sandwich.
I mean, Newark's got really good food. I mean, everything you order there is really
Okay.
good. Really not one
Now,
favorite.
Scott, the French onion soup, is it a light colored base or is it dark colored?
It was dark.
Okay. But yeah, no, it's a cool.
Ahi tuna, that's good. And this tuna is really good there. Everything's so good. The food's really good there. Anyway, we went there and we ended up closing the place and staying there late out on a school night and back up at 6 a.m. this morning. So I'm pretty tired here.
Yeah, Saturday I had a fight with a lower ball joint on my truck, and
What year's your truck, Josh?
it's a 2011.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I had that '05, and then when I was going back to the other job, I needed a more reliable truck because
I'm a GM guy, I'm a Chevy guy, but I tell you what, a very common tow for me is with the GM and Chevy trucks is the lower ball joints go out on them because they're non-greasable. You can't grease them.
It had a Zerk fitting on it, but I don't know how I was going to get in there between the front axle, or the front drive shaft rather. But yeah, no, man, it's a press fitting, and even with a ball joint press kit that clearly says "do not use impact wrench." I don't know how, even with a torch and everything else to try to, you heat up the control arm and you freeze the ball joint, and it still doesn't want to go together nicely. So, a couple ugga-duggas and it was in. But,
all right, so we're going to talk about Wall State. What we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about day 2 of the 2020 Turkey Derby, and we'll talk a little bit about Bristol Racing Dirt today, the truck race and the Cup race. I just told you I chose not to go to Wall Stadium, either did Josh, but my brother was there. So we did have the RPM podcast did have boots on the ground there. My brother was there spotting for Anthony Cecily against him.
Yeah, I was there. You got me?
Yeah,
we hear you.
Froze up a minute. Yeah, I was there spotting for Cecily again. Beautiful day.
I tell you
Great
what,
day.
It was a beautiful day, and that's another reason I wanted to stay home and get some stuff done because it was absolutely gorgeous out. And by looking at photos at the track, they ended up having a good crowd. It looked a little light in the beginning, but about the time feature time rolled around, there was a real good crowd there.
Well, I think a lot of people learned their lesson last week. You don't have to be there at 12 o'clock to sit through an hour and a half intermission. It started to get busy. It started to get busy around 2:30, 3, 2:45. It started picking up. Yeah,
because I mean, a lot of people on Facebook were complaining that they had all their qualifying, then they sat around for an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes before the feature started. But the thing was, it was being televised on pay-per-view. So you advertise at 3 o'clock feature time start. You kind of got to stick with it.
Yeah. Yep.
There wasn't enough going on between. I'm sure the track thought qualifying was going to take longer. I'm sure they were hoping for more cars. The car count was very light. So qualifying got done real quick. There was no major issues. There wasn't that many cars there to begin with. They just practice and qualifying went quicker than they thought. So there was a little bit of a lull in between qualifying, practice, and feature time.
But that's also it is a perfect time, to get your food, and then you can actually go sit at a table and enjoy it. I mean, I'm just saying, take advantage. Oh yeah. No, I get it, but absolutely what you said before is when you advertise a schedule, especially if people are rushing, trying to get there at that time or just before 3 for the features, or the people that paid to watch it, which I considered doing. But between working on the truck and then when I saw I'll be honest, when I saw the car counts, I wasn't as encouraged to.
Right. I lost interest myself too. There was only 3 divisions there: the late models, the TQs, and the tour type modifieds, which we don't have many of them around anymore. Tour type modifieds because Wall runs a different set of rules, so most guys got Wall stadium cars. But to be fair with the track, it was like a perfect storm for them to have a low car count. Number one, they only wanted 3 divisions there because you remember they're trying to spread this all out because of COVID. They're trying to keep the crowds down because of COVID, and
keep the pits down too.
A race, you have a rescheduled race, you lose cars. People got other plans. This was supposed to be a Thanksgiving race. People had planned to come there Thanksgiving race. It's at the end of the year, not at the beginning of the year. Beginning of the year, everybody's got pretty much their schedule set, and they're afraid to, maybe blow a motor up or wreck the car, or they'd rather just be ready, 100% financially set and
well, that's why Turkey Derby is at the perfect time. You got to take your car apart anyway. Right. You might as well get that last race before you. Yep.
And
so
Scott, the
car counts were light.
Scott, this even affected you as far as Sunday being postponed again. You have other plans, and that's gonna.
Yeah, we have a non-refundable vacation booked in the Florida Keys for. So what would it be? It would be April 17th. They rescheduled the factory stock 100 lapper. Well, we're leaving the 16th, and we had it planned to be home for the 24th for opening day, but who would ever thought that the factory stock Turkey Derby race would be April 17th. So unfortunately, I'm going to miss that 100 lap. Josh, you realize this is going to be only the second factory stock race I missed since 2012, and the first one, the only reason I missed it, except Tim, that's when Dad had the stroke at the racetrack, and me and Nancy chose not to race it, and instead to work his souvenir stand. So I missed that one Sunday Turkey Derby, but I was there. But I was just working my father's souvenir stand.
Well, Scott, I'm sorry,
ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, Scott, wasn't there one penalty that you had to serve, or was that just you couldn't finish?
Yeah, but I actually started that race. I just wasn't allowed to finish it.
Oh, okay. But you raced the next race right after that, then.
Right.
Okay.
Because that time I served that penalty there was an accident. They said I caused the accident. Well, the fence got knocked down. We weren't able to finish the race that night because the fence was knocked down. So when we came back to finish that race, I couldn't, because the other car was wrecked so bad he couldn't continue. I couldn't continue, but I was in that race.
Right. Okay.
I still got credit for place finish or something like that.
If you want, Scott, I'll volunteer my services. I'll drive your car that weekend.
I already tried, Tim.
We got hate mail over the week last week. Said anybody can drive a factory stock. Let me drive it. I'll drive it. I can do 13 seconds, boy.
You know what? And here's the problem with that also. I'm going away on vacation, and I'm coming home the 23rd. We planned it so we would be home the 24th for opening night. Because the race is 1 week before opening night, and I'm not going to be here to repair the car, I'm just going to leave the car in the garage because now it's ready. Like if the race was April 10th, I'm sure the track has their reasons why. I mean, this weekend's Easter weekend, but why can't they have it April 2nd on Saturday? Why can't we have it April 10th? Why it got pushed back to April 17th? I really don't know, but I'm sure the track has a reason why. I just don't know what it is. But this is probably actually realistically the 5th or 6th date for this race.
Oh yeah.
Just finally interfere with something I had else going on. Yeah, and who knows? It might rain out again. I don't know. So, but it just makes it tough to have a 100 lapper for the factory stocks the week before opening night.
I honestly think if they didn't pre-sale tickets for it, they would have just got rid of it by now.
Yeah. I kind of wish they just would have added it to the Saturday show. There wasn't much going on anyway.
Yeah, they could have actually. Actually, technically, not to be a jerk. I mean, we literally live 3 miles from the track, Scott. They technically could have raced the day they got rained out. It was nice. Yeah,
it would have been miserable. Though. We were supposed to be there like 8:30. We would definitely.
Yeah, no. It was nice during 2:30 to 7 o'clock. It was nice. They could have done the feature.
Yeah, I was thinking we could have gotten in, but it would have been a miserable morning sitting over there.
It would have been a long track drying morning. And then luckily the TQs went on Saturday because imagine trying to dry the track and then the flat as well for the
infield. Yeah.
So.
All right, guys. Well, let's get going talking about this. There was a low car count in the modifieds. I think we did end up with like 15 cars, but there was really only 10 to 12 cars, and then people started showing up with backup cars and pulling out their wall modifieds and putting backup drivers in it just to make it a field. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because of this, Tim, the regular schedule laps was 150 laps, but they cut it down to twin 50s. Tim, you know how we ended up with these twin 50s?
I talked to Anthony Sissy about it pretty much on the phone after the fact, and he said, when they got there, it seemed to make the people in charge actually didn't think it was going to be that bad of a car count. They thought they would have a little bit more than they did. And so they waited around and no more cars came. And they're like, well, what are we going to do now? And they discussed, well, let's drop it to 100. And then somebody brought to the table, like, let's do twin 50s. And basically from what Anthony explained to me, it was kind of like an informal vote between all the 12 people that were in the race or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And a majority of them wanted to do the twin 50s. Not everybody, but mostly did.
I like the idea of the twin 50s from a fan's perspective, because here's the thing. Say if there's 15 cars, a couple get wrecked. Well, now the race
come back out.
Yeah. Throw the checker out 50 laps, have your winner, have your finishing order. Those guys can fix their cars. Now we're starting another 50 lappers with 15 cars again. And they're bunched back up in another fresh race.
And how many tour races? I know me, and you've been to some down south too, Scott, where there's 10 cars and they're doing 200 laps at Caraway. By lap 30, you're like, when's this race going to be over? You know, they're all spread out.
And they're going half throttle because they're all just saving their tires for the last.
Yeah. So I would have been okay with. There's no sense to do 150 laps. Anybody that would complain about going from 150 to 100, if you get upset about that, I understand it.
To
but
have
you don't need to.
Lapper, you need over 20. You got to be 2 to 24 cars to make an exciting 150 lap.
Well, wait, Scott, how many cars do they take?
They would start them.
So, to me personally, 100 laps or 2 twin 50s is 6 a dozen half of the other. You know, we used to do back when the Mad Cars were the main division there. We did those 350s, yeah.
Right.
So it's been done before.
I mean, they called an audible. You know, they got what they got, and they tried to make more of an exciting race, and they did. You know, I mean, some people could say I paid for 150 laps and only got 100 laps, but you got better racing. I think it was a very smart move.
That's like going to McDonald's and say I ordered a Big Mac with 3 pickles and I got 2. You know, it's like come on.
Complains about that all the time. I mean, the track did the best. You know, they tried to put on a more exciting show with what they had showed up that day. You know, and
we've had a discussion, Scott. You know, just because there's only 10 cars there, if there's 5 good cars, you can still have a good race.
Great race.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times I won races with 9 or 10 cars, and people are like, "Oh, there was only 9 or 10 cars." I'm like, "Yeah, but it was all the good guys who were there." You know what I'm saying? It was still a tough win. Yeah. But unfortunately, I mean, I'm very proud of Tom Martino Jr. He had a great run and a great weekend over there with the tour type car. But let's face it, Matt Hirschman had him covered, and on top of having a low car count, Matt Hirschman was just the class of the field and was able to dominate both races pretty much. Sometimes he makes it look easy.
Well, the only question is what would Hartwig have done?
You know what was kind of cool too, like Andrew, because his family runs the racetrack. He's seen that there was a problem with car count. He actually found Timmy Solomito, who was just there helping his girlfriend Brianna Page. They actually ran back to the shop and got their wall modified and found Timmy, got Timmy some safety equipment and got him in the car to put another car out there. Another team that did that was Anthony Sesley, my brother's team. They actually went and got their wall mod or had it there, and they had put Neil Rutt III in the car. So there was some definitely. It seems like the team's kind of pulled together to help the racetrack with car count. You know what I'm saying? And I guess they saw an opportunity to run another car and at least get green flag money. You know what I'm saying?
I asked Anthony about that and how that all happened. He said the wall modified. Luckily, was home in the garage, not taken apart.
Right.
Usually, when they come home, they take it apart to see what was wrong with it or whatever. Luckily, it was together. Yeah, and I asked him. I go, why'd you put Neil Rutt in it? Was it all that controversy about people were saying he should or should not be in it? He goes, I didn't know anything about that. Anthony Sesley's lucky he's got a cell phone that's not a flip phone. Like he's not on Facebook. He's not on Instagram. He's not on the wall message board. I can barely get a hold of him on the text message half the time. And he goes, no, I didn't know anything about that. He goes, the reason why he put Neil in the car is Sesley's first modified. He bought from Neil's father. Remember the white 6? That was
the Frankie Borwick car.
Yeah, that was Sesley's first car. So he said over the years he's become friends with there's a lot of mutual friends in between the two pits areas, you know.
Yeah.
And he said he asked Neil to drive the car, and Neil's like, well, I don't know if I can. And he's like, well, what do you mean you can? He's like, I got to go get approved, and I guess it was a 2-minute ordeal, nothing. You know, he was approved immediately, and he did very well. He did very well.
I was kind of hoping more wall mods might have showed up because I tell you what, the wall mods, even though they're 2 barrels and they're less horsepower, they can run with those tour types. They usually time around the same times, and then after tires drop off, sometimes you're better off with the 2 barrel.
I talked to another team that wasn't there, and I'm not going to say who it was, but it's a guy that races there pretty much every Saturday. I guess he had gotten a phone call, said, "Hey, we have a little car count. Do you want to bring your car down?" He's like, "Sure. What do I got to do?" And he told me that they told him he had to buy 6 tires. He's like, "Well, I'm not buying 6 tires."
Yeah.
So
it's like dealing with the mafia. You can come racing and help us with car counts, but you got to at least buy 6 tires, and you have to buy.
Yeah,
I think they're close to $200 a piece, so you're looking at about $1,200 in tires.
He's like
Scott.
He felt like that one.
I'm sorry, Tim. I just wanted to ask Scott. The tires that you bought for Turkey Derby, does that go to your tire bank for opening night now?
You don't have to, but I probably will bank them. You know, instead of buying 4, just the 4 I have with 30 laps on them, I'll probably bank them. But no, Turkey Derby, we're allowed to buy 5 tires for each event, but you don't have to buy them. You know. And if you still have some of their stickers, the tire bank doesn't start until opening night, and we bank 6 tires. It doesn't matter if there's 6 brand new tires or 6 tires left from last year. You just have to bank 6 tires to start.
Okay. All right.
So now that I'm out running the 100 lapper on those 30 lap tires I have, I probably will bank them and then buy 2 and bank those 4 and have 2 new ones and start with that.
Oh, and then toss out. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Now Nancy has 4 brand new tires on her car because she didn't run the first day. She was waiting for the 100 lapper. Now she can't make it either, obviously. And so she's got 4 brand new tires. Now she just has to buy 2 to start the season with.
Okay.
And you don't even have to bank 6 if you don't want to. You can bank 4, you know, the 4 you're running. You know what I'm saying? But
That's
you're allowed up to 6 tires. You know?
Calling me out, aren't you?
What's that?
That's all I could bank.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Some people think you have to, like Tim said, this guy was told he had to buy 6 tires to race Turkey Derby. The factory stocks don't have to buy 6, but we're allowed to buy banks up to 6.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. I was just curious about that. All right. So, anyway, back onto the tour mods.
We might as well go right to the features. Tim, what was the first feature?
The cars in the infield, TQs.
The TQ cars?
Yeah.
All right, good. They had actually a pretty good car count. They had 14 TQs. Kyle Taraska.
We've actually got a lot of races at Wall Stadium this year, more than normal.
I think they like it. It's worked out well for them. I mean, I know like Joey Bailey wants to be back on the banking with the wings and all, but
I had dinner with Joey Payne, like I said last night, and he's a big TQ guy, and his family's always supported TQs. He said he'd love to be back up on the high banks too. He says he likes the little track, but it's always really dirty. I mean, they do the best to try to blow it off. But I mean, my nieces, even on Sunday series, they even say it's bumpy. It's bumpy for those little cars down there, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I mean, again, there's not with the karts. There's not much of a suspension. I mean, it's
that's exactly why Bailey's a little slower than Lexus. Scott, you remember how you Pocono used to come off the front straightaway? You had to hit that bump, go to the turn 1.
Yeah.
Like all the good guys would run over the top of the bump and get the car sideways. There's a bump coming out of turn 3 on the little track that you gotta go through. You gotta wheel through it. You gotta go through like the Pocono. And Bailey won't do it. Lexus just goes there. Lexus will put that car on there, bump, and the car goes sideways. And Bailey just won't do it. Just a bump story.
All right, so they have 14 cars there, Josh. I don't know much about the TQs. If you want to hit us with the top 10 or whatever.
Yeah. So Kyle Taraska, who we've been involved with quite a bit with the TQs, he got a wonderful win for him. on that flat. They had a 30-lap race, so that's a good race. And with 14 cars, there's plenty of traffic out there, and we know that the TQs can actually get a lot of action and more contact than is necessary. But in second, we had Joey Bailey, followed by Jeff Cott, Ryan Tidman, Gio Sutton, Anthony Payne, Tyler Ferris, and the Ferris family is huge in I believe with the karting too, right?
Yeah.
And then Brianna Page, but they forgot the R in her name. Tim Proctor and Mike Glazier are your top 10. There's a few names, obviously, that I'm not used to there. They're missing a few people that normally would run, but the TQs are kind of not really a tri-track series, but they regional.
I know that this year they have a lot of races at Walton. They have a lot of races at Bethel.
Yeah, they're kind of a regional series, and but they put on a good show, and I like watching them. I just unfortunately wasn't there, but yeah, they make a lot of noise and they're a lot of fun. I know
they remind me of not the cars themselves, but the people that race them. They remind me of IndyCar type people. It's a group of families and drivers that have been racing them for years. Just same with the Indy cars. You got the Penske's, the Andretti's, the Foyts and all them. They're the core that keeps IndyCar racing. And same with the TQs, like the Paynes and Lenny Boyd's team and all them. They've been doing it forever. You know what I'm saying? And they're the core that keeps the division alive. And I think that's pretty cool. There is a good history with that. Me and my brothers watched those cars for years. Tim, I did notice that. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I did notice in the pictures I saw on Facebook that Andrew Krause's TQ car was there. Do you know if he was driving it or if it was sold or?
He wasn't driving it. There was somebody else driving it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he owns. They didn't say who owned it or anything.
But it still looks like Andrew's car and everything, like the one.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And I like following the TQs for that reason. We do have people who have been doing it a long time, and I follow.
And a lot of them have podcast stickers on their cars. Just like the tow truck. I wanted to call out Cody Mount, I believe it was, reached out to us, and he's the one that put he drives the flatbed, and he's the one that put the podcast stickers on the flatbed at the track. So I wanted to thank him for that. Anyway, go ahead, Scott. Sorry, I just wanted to get that.
Tim, what was the next feature down the hill there?
The tour cars.
The first feature.
Do you know what they did with qualifying, Tim? Did they time trial? Did they invert the top 6 or the top 10? Or
they time trialed. Yeah, just then after the first 50 lapper, the top 6 inverted. I think it was.
What would you guys think if the tour mods did heat races?
They used to do heat races every Saturday night.
Those cars are expensive to wreck up in a heat race, especially if you got 15 of them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I mean, would it be a better show?
Probably. I mean, heat races are always better than time trials, but it gets expensive for the race teams.
Okay, so not worth it because you'll potentially not have cars anymore.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, if you already got a low car count, and say if you wreck 2 in a heat race where everybody qualifies, then you're just hurting the feature event.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I'm just a thought.
Yeah, in the day and age of 15 or less cars, there's no sense to have heat races. You're wasting time and money. If there's 25 to 30 cars, then you want to make something of it. Then
especially race gas at like $12 a gallon.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay.
Tim, how did your team make out? Where did Anthony start? Where did he finish? How did your race go in the first 50 lapper?
He qualified, I guess, around 6th or 7th, right around there. And our game plan was to be in the redraw, which we just missed out of. And then the second one, he got up to 4th, and then the car just went away again, if I remember right. Yeah, it was on a sheet of ice.
I noticed Anthony had a black car there. Do you know what's up with that car? Is that a brand new car this season for Anthony?
That's one of those Cluth cars?
Rick Kaluth out of upstate New York. He built his
yeah. I do believe that Anthony's just driving for him.
Okay.
He's not. Yeah.
I know Rick Kaloo's cars are usually number 44s, but Anthony always campaigns at number 16, so I guess they're using Anthony's 16 number.
Yeah. The race, to me, it looked like all the modifieds were pretty much skating around. Like the track was like ice almost, or the cars weren't into the racetrack, if you want to say, except for Hirschman. Hirschman was just riding around.
You know, it's too with less cars. There's less rubber on the track too. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's not even other divisions putting rubber down on the track. You know, so
I mean, I wish I had more to say about the modifieds, but just Matt got the lead and pretty much just rode around. That's all it really was. So
he was lucky enough to have it dialed in pretty good. Like, you know, he guessed pretty damn good on the setup.
We want to apologize to our listeners. We really knew that, you know, there wasn't much to the storyline other than car counts. You know, we'll see. You know, we're just doing our best we can to cover what happened. Next down on the track were the late models, right, Tim?
Do you want to do the top 10?
I just want to say that. Well, Tommy Martino did very well. He held his own up front with, you know, the leaders. He did really good, and Neil Wright, like I said before, he did outstanding. He did good. And Timmy Salamino did well for being in a crate, well, not a crate modified, but a wall mod.
By the time Andrew decided to go home and get the car, and Timmy Salamino, you know, found racing equipment to get in the car, I heard he didn't even practice or anything. He just
right into he just raced, yeah. And he was right up there with the leaders. Oh, he was right. The second race, he could have thrown a blanket over them. You know, he was right there with them. So
and that was with a wall 2-barrel car running right with the tour type.
I'm going to say
top 10 for the first 50 lap modified race of Turkey Derby.
All right, as we mentioned, Matt Hirschman gets the win. Andrew Krause in second. That's, I believe, 2 weeks in a row for Krause to be in second, unfortunately for him. Tom Martino Jr., Tim Solomito, we were just talking about with what should be an underpowered car and no practice, ended up fourth. Ron Freese, Jonathan Mendetto, Derek Hopkinson, Dave Sapienza, Neil Rutt III in ninth, and Eddie McCarthy rounds out the top 10.
I tell you what, I'm really surprised that Dave Sapienza didn't run better. He usually flies at that racetrack, and he seems like he wasn't up to par.
I maybe took a bad swing at it with the setup or something after practice.
Tim, did you notice anything noticeable with Dave Sapp's cars, why he might have not run?
Like I said, to me, it looked like they were all just skating around. Like the track was not like it normally is for some reason. It was pretty damn hot there yesterday. Yeah. There was a point in time where I'm like, damn, it's too hot to even be here. You know,
you know that now it's a day race in the hot sun where the track gets greasy and slick. You know,
and the sticky stuff that they put on the outside, I don't know if they did or they didn't over the week, but you can see where it is. Yeah. And it looked like going into the corner, going into 3, and going into 1 that they didn't put it down further back as they normally do. It looked like it was further ahead. Mm-hmm. So they were actually missing the first where you would get in the high groove initially. You had to wait. I think it was screwing everybody up.
Oh yeah.
Right, Josh, so the next.
Go ahead.
The next feature on the track was the late models. I think they had, 9 cars?
10, actually.
Okay.
I know that
best race of the day, though. Best race of the day.
They're cool cars. I remember, not all that long ago, they had huge car counts for the late models, but, it's dropped off for, the past, 5 years or so. And, they're still awesome cars. They're just expensive, I guess. I don't know. But Neil Rutt III, I believe this is his first time in a late model, as far as I'm aware. Ends up blowing everybody away and walking away with the win. Although
he didn't blow everybody away. Let's not get too excited here.
Well, for
Ron Freese had engine troubles too, and the Rob Ormsby number 19. That's usually a rocket ship.
Yeah, I do know that his car didn't start after his victory lane speech. They had to get pushed off. But anyway, so then we have Gerard Giordano, Brian Doyle, Mark Hudson, Mike Tillett, Howie Conk, Ron Freese, Brandon Turabush, Ricky Giannino, and Darren Cox are your competitors.
Seems like there was more cars there than Wall Stadium cars.
Yeah, and they all had problems. Ricky Giannino, he dropped out.
I don't think there was many cars running at the end of the race.
Turbish broke something in the rear. Howie Conk was very fast. He was right up there. He broke. Rob's car, something happened. Rob's car, who was driving Rob's car? Freeze run. He definitely had the speed in the car. Like, again, it looked like it was skating on the track. It wasn't like into the racetrack.
Yeah, someone even told me that. Like, Rob's cars, you never even wiggle on the racetrack, and he said it was like the car was all over the place.
Yeah, so that's he didn't have that forward bite coming off the corner, and Neil got a good run on him coming down the straightaway, and it was like Ronnie drifted up. Neil just threw the car in there and got by him, and then once he got by him, Ronnie was still behind him, still staying right with him, and then coming out of the next corner, Ronnie just pulled in the infield. So I don't know what happened, and he drove it. He drove it off the track. So I don't know what happened there, and then everybody broke it. Then Neil was the only car really left out there. So I mean, not taking anything. He won. He passed the leader to win. So he did very well.
It seems like those late models always come down to the process of elimination to get a winner. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, we had seen a couple races like that last year where nobody wanted to win the race. Who was ever leading even spun out or broke or wrecked or something like that. You know.
But it was exciting because Ronnie Freeze got in the lead, and you're trained to be like, well, that's it.
Yeah,
we might as well go home now. And then all of a sudden, here comes Neil Rutten. Like, damn, he's catching him. You know, he can stay with him. Can he pass him? Can he pass him? And he got back by him, and they were like, "Oh, Ronnie's gonna try to get back by him." And Howie Conk was in the mix for a while too, and it went from like really being exciting to be like, "All right, well, there's really nobody left." So, you know.
Well,
all right. So then, to top the day off, we had the next 50-lap modified race come down the hill. I'm sure this was
they ran a modified one after the other.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
They didn't do nothing in between.
They parked on they took the checkered flag. And the whole field came on the front stretch. They all lined up like a red flag condition. The top 6 drivers got out of their cars. They picked for numbers right there in front of the fans, and then they all got back in the car, and the whole field went in pits in the order the way they were. When they took the checkered, went into pits for whatever it was, 5 minutes, and then they came back out in the order that they were in, and they raced again.
Not really. You think they would have had the late model race in between to keep the show moving, so you're not sitting there waiting for everybody to regroup for the next race.
That and give anybody time to repair the car or something like that, or make adjustments.
I know Doug Kobe got wrecked in the first one, and he wasn't able to continue in the second one. You know.
Yeah.
Weird deal they had going on there.
Yeah, I definitely would have put something in the middle there. Oh well. Anyway.
So the second 50 lap. Go ahead, Josh. Might as well go there. It was no different than the first one. Matt Hirschman got the lead and rode around.
Wow.
You know. Yeah, hit us with the top 10 of that one, Josh.
Matt Hirschman, Kraus again, Martino in third, fourth was Solomito again. So honestly, your top 4 is exactly the same. Cecily did much better this time in fifth. Then Freeze, Sapienza, McCarthy, Mandato, and Treat.
Like I said, the 9 car led for a lot of it, and Matt just kind of to about halfway. You know, it was like scheduled. It was halfway. You know, it clicked off halfway. Then Matt just went by. I mean, you could clearly see that Matt was just riding behind him and passed him. Just waiting for it. Yeah.
Were there many cautions?
No, that's what I remember. No.
Okay, they just got strung out and just kind of, did their thing.
Yeah, there's only 12 cars out there. It's not really much to wreck, you know.
Fair enough. Okay.
Well, the good news is we completed day 2 of Turkey Derby. The bad news is it wasn't the most exciting racing going on, but I'm telling you, it's just a weird time of racing right now with the COVID and Turkey Derby being postponed, and it's almost like a relief that we got it in, got it behind us.
It is what it is. It's nobody's fault. It is what it is.
Nobody's fault. It's just what's going on right now.
They're trying to.
I commend the Crouses for not throwing in the towel and say, screw it, we ain't racing at all. Then they're trying.
And I'm glad that everybody that did show up in the grandstands. I mean, the crowds were good.
Yeah. Yep.
Considering too, the Bridgeport had a big weekend going on down in South Jersey.
No, I did get a pork roll sandwich at the
Did you?
track, and yeah. Only complaint I have is that we had 2 pieces of pork roll on it, not 3. I'm a 3 pork roll. You gotta have at least 3 slices of pork roll.
Didn't you just say you can't complain about getting 2 pickles instead of 3, and now you're complaining?
No, I did. Pickles and pork roll totally different.
You talk about the pork roll; it's the main part of the sandwich.
Okay.
Yeah. Pickles are not in the title of the sandwich that you were buying. The pork roll is. The girls got their famous chicken and French fries, which are always good. And I asked, and I did not receive an answer if there was any kind of special. I asked Gary McGuigan. He said he did not hear anything over the loudspeaker that there was no special. And the girls went down and asked, and they said the girl that they asked didn't know what they were talking about. So I guess there was no special.
Before we move on from Wall Stadium, there is one more important question I want to ask you, Tim. How did the getting into the track work easier this week?
It was totally night and day different.
Really?
We pulled in, and there was no line at the will call. Everybody was already in. We were there at the exact same time as we were last week. So they did open. I do know for a fact they opened up will call this past weekend at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So by 12 o'clock, everybody had their tickets. I actually know some people that I talked to on the phone went down at 10 o'clock, got their tickets, went to Collinswood Auction, went out to breakfast, went somewhere, and then came back, and everything was fine. So it was a night and day difference.
Because I heard no one complain about that. I didn't hear anybody that I know of or on Facebook. I don't know of anybody that got the pay-per-view, so I don't know how that went. Josh, did you hear anything about the pay-per-view, how it was?
No. I was really curious. I did not hear anything about it. Like I said, I was tempted, and then with the car counts kind of dwindling, and I knew I was going to be outside working on the truck. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to pass on it for this. And yeah,
I watched a replay of it yesterday. It was amazing coverage.
Yeah?
They had like 12 different camera angles. It had the ticker going. It had everything. It has it was
if
perfect.
anybody listening to our show got it on pay-per-view, please put in the comments how it was, how you enjoyed it. You hope they do it again, and kind of where you live. We're kind of curious if maybe someone in Florida watched it, or the reason you chose to do pay-per-view than rather go to the track.
They actually had so many camera angles there. They had a guy standing in the woods in turn 1. That they kept. After the first time, I don't know why they didn't realize, but they kept sending the track crew over there to chase him away, thinking it was, kids in the woods
races for free.
Yeah, and it was the camera guy. So,
all right, so that probably concludes Turkey Derby Day 2 of 2020, and I don't really. I mean, Bridgeport had a huge weekend down there. I just wanted to touch base. I just wanted to tell a quick story. Me and Nancy decided I bought a brand new GMC truck. Because me and Nancy have been so busy, like I told you earlier in the show. It's really just been sitting in my yard. We haven't had a chance to drive it. Once again, Friday was a beautiful day out. Nancy got to work at 5 o'clock. She said, Scott, let's go for a ride in your brand new truck. So we're just thinking of some ideas. Where can we take a ride to? Smithville, who knows,
Funky Town.
Let's take a ride down Route 70 to 295 and let's go to Bridgeport. So we jumped in my brand new truck and we drove down there, basically just to go for a ride and get out of the house for a little while and try my new truck out, make sure everything works in it and the lights and everything.
You gotta shake it down.
Yeah, we had to shake it down. So we drove down to Bridgeport. They had street stocks, mass sprint cars, which are the 305 sprint cars, and they had like 602 Sportsmans, and they had the modifieds were there doing their qualifying and stuff. So we went down there. A beautiful night. It was a little windy though. It was definitely windy out, but it was a beautiful night. Stars were shining. The weather was warm. We drove down there. It was $18 to get in. We paid our $18 a piece to get in. We were hungry. We wanted to try the food. I got a regular cheeseburger that comes with onions and cheese and mustard and ketchup. It was good. It was really good. It was a really good cheeseburger. Nancy got that Primo sausage, Tim. That they sponsor at New Egypt. They sponsor down there. The guy sponsors dirt cars and everything. She got a sausage and pepper and onion sandwich, and she enjoyed that. It was really good too. And then we watched the races. They had some low car counts down there too. Their street stocks, unfortunately, only had 6 cars down there. Their street stock division usually about 20 cars.
I think Dan posted something about that, saying somebody please save the street stocks.
But I still enjoyed watching it. It's kind of like the wall modified race. Rich Stinson, I think he's the champion down there. His car is looks more like a late model compared to the other cars that were in that division. And he started pretty much dead last, which was only like 5th or 6th, and then he got in the lead and he was gone. But from 2nd to 5th was a real good race, and those guys were battling out pretty hard. And it was a good race. The track was in perfect condition. It wasn't that dusty or nothing like that. The only other thing I want to mention about the night, we didn't even stay for a whole night because, like I said, we basically just drove down there to drive my truck. Darren Cox, he's been friends with me and Tim. He's a Farmingdale kid. He's a man now, but he grew up in Farmingdale with me and Tim. He used to rent shops down where my shop was at Elliot Wall's family's place where they ran at shops. He was down there with a sprint car. He was down there with Al Voorhees, a sprint car, the black and yellow number 86. And there was a ton of those sprint cars. I mean, a ton of them. He didn't make it through time trials, so they had 2 B mains, which had about 10 cars in each one, and you had to finish 1st or 2nd to qualify into the race. And he started around 5th or 6th, and him in that 2nd place guy, the leader of that race was pretty much checked out, and he was gone. So it came down to Darren Cox and another guy, and they were duking it out for that last qualifying spot, and Darren ended up finishing 2nd. It was pretty cool to see Darren qualifying to a pretty major sprint car race like that.
That's awesome.
And he put on a great show. Then in the feater, he started dead last, and they started a lot of them. There's probably 20-something, 26, 28 cars out there, and he started
them all.
Last. It would have been like 40 cars if they started them all then. But
hey, enduros make it work.
We basically stayed to watch. After the street stock race, I said I at least want to stay and watch Darren race the sprint car. And he started way in the back, and he came up he got to about mid-pack, and he was passing people. I mean, they weren't wrecking. He was passing them, and unfortunately, he went into the corner, and he was battling with the guy, so I know he wasn't, looking too far ahead because he had to be paying attention, battling with this guy because, the sprint cars, you hop a wheel and you're done, Yeah. And he went into the corner real hard underneath this guy, and unfortunately, the 2 cars in front of him spun out sideways, and he just got collected in that. He basically had nowhere to go and drove right into the wreck, and that ended his night. But I just want to give a shout out to Darren Cox. It was real cool watching him drive that sprint car, and he did a great job.
That's awesome. Good for him. So you had street stocks, sprint cars. What else was there?
They had 602 Sportsman, but we left. It was like 10:30 by then already because they had so much qualifying because there were so many cars, and they were qualifying for the next day because they had a big race the next day, so they were qualifying the modifieds and everything. When we did leave, the next race out on the track, we didn't stay and watch it, but it was a non-winner race. It was basically anybody who raced a 602 Sportsman there last year but didn't win a race. They had a race for them. They get a new winner and stuff. I always think that's a neat idea.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Well, pumps the morale of the division up a little bit. That's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my little story I wanted to tell about Bridgeport. It was a beautiful night there. There was campers in the parking lot. There was a good crowd there.
Did you
spotless.
Did you say what you ate there?
Yeah, I told you I had a cheeseburger.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And Nancy had a sausage sandwich. But the track looks awesome. If you haven't been to Bridgeport yet since they built this new track, it's a must-see. It is the most exciting racetrack I've been to in a very long time. The racing there is phenomenal. My division that I race in, we have 5 races there this year, and I cannot wait to get that back out on that track.
And that wasn't a lot of that Danny Serrano's, baby.
Danny Serrano's idea.
Yeah.
Man. And when Danny first picked that track out, because there was some track out in the Midwest that Danny used to go to, and he loved it. He's like, we're building this identical to this track. But that was a sprint car track. A lot of people weren't sure how street stocks and modifieds were going to race on that track because out there was this street stocks, just sprint cars. And I remember talking to Danny. He's like, well, we don't know yet. He's like, I guarantee you that the modifieds are going to run good, and they really do.
Okay, good.
That's one thing I wanted to say. I forgot to say about Wall Stadium that it was so nice out that after the races, it was still early. It wasn't late. People actually, there were 5 campers there, but there's actually people made like a almost like a half moon, not a complete circle, but a half moon of all tailgaters back by the where the camping was, and they were all hanging out there. So I don't know how long they stayed, but it was pretty cool. It was a nice night out.
It's actually it's kind of a shame that again with the rain out and everything, to people couldn't camp for the duration of Turkey Derby. So yeah, I've always wanted to try doing that, and not being involved with a car right now, that's you'd think I'd have a better shot at it. Anyway, so any other local action we want to talk about? Oh, actually, Tim, we did want to talk about the ATCO drama.
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess it's another nail in the coffin of auto racing in New Jersey. Another track that looks like it's going to go down to be one of those insurance lots. And Scott Toes for a lot of those. He probably has a little bit more information than I would on that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are falling victim of Copart and IAA, which is insurance companies that they use them for the wrecked cars. Like people wreck cars or at body shops, they tow them out of there and then they auction them off. Unfortunately, these companies have big money, and they're kind of feeding on racetracks because they need the space, and racetracks have the space, they have the acreage, they're cleared, they already have bathrooms, they already have offices, and a lot of these racetracks are in financial troubles, and these insurance companies got the money. And another reason they prey on old racetracks is because a lot of the racetracks don't have a good the people in town don't like racetracks. They'd rather get rid of a racetrack and have an auction yard there, be a little quieter, you know what I'm saying? So they're buying up all these racetracks. If they're for sale or not, they're making these racetracks deals they can't refuse,
And so it looks like this one's pretty much already a done deal.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I loved, I go camping near there, and I would, be sitting around the campfire listening to drag racing all night.
On a happier note, Scott, you were telling me everybody thought that Raceway Park was completely closed down, which is not true.
No, it's not. There is an auction yard and it took that over, but they only took over a part of the racetrack, and they still have the road course there, and they still do stuff there weekly, and they also have people think they don't do motocross anymore there because the old motocross track has been knocked down level, and that's kind of where the auction cars are. But they just built another one out back. They built another one on their property, and they still race motocross and everything there.
And the karts too?
I guess they could still race karts there. Why couldn't they? And so they and even the drag strip, they couldn't use the whole drag strip, but they could use the front part of it. So they just made like a pad, and that's where they have the drifting and stuff there. They have the drifting and stuff on where they used to launch from the drag strip. So it's still being used. It's just the drag strip that got closed, and there's still plenty of other types of racing going on there.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I really thought ATCO was going to take over a lot of the thrill show stuff after Raceway Park shut down, and not all that long ago, a couple of years ago, we took the family out, and they had a monster truck and jet cars, and a stunt guy, was it Doug Danger? He jumped over, I don't know, whatever it was. So it had a nice show. Like they kind of did what Raceway Park used to do, and it was good because you could take the kid out and see monster trucks. They had monster truck rides out in the parking lot.
Unfortunately, ATCO's a lot further away from like New York City than Raceway Park was.
I tell you what, though, I live off of Route 70, and ever since Englishtown closed down, like on a Saturday morning, I see a ton of drag cars going down Route 70 with New York plates on it. They must run down the Parkway, jump on 70, and run down 70.
Yeah.
I really feel bad for the drag races because it started, all the drag strips closed out on Long Island, so Long Island guys crossed over to New Jersey, started racing Englishtown and ATCO. Well, now they're closed. The only drag strip I know of now is Island Dragway in New Jersey by the Delaware Water Gap, and that's a small one. I think that's only an 1/8 mile track. I don't think it's a quarter-mile track.
Haven't they been in and out of trouble themselves?
Well, they were having COVID troubles. They weren't in trouble. They were just breaking some COVID rules. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I thought previous years they had like it shut down and then reopened and
maybe. But that's a real small drag strip. There's like no grandstands to really talk about, and it's for small street type drag race, and nothing. You can't have like a big major event there or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And other than that, they gotta go all the way up to like New England Dragway, up by like in Massachusetts by Star Speedway and stuff like that,
Jeez.
and out in Pennsylvania, like all the way out to Maple Grove and stuff. I tell you what, I always talked about it. If I was Pocono International Raceway, I'd make a drag strip on the front straightaway. Use pit road in the front stretch or whatever, and let them drag race there.
I've seen videos of other tracks that other
Atlanta
large.
does it.
Yeah. They use
Atlanta
the pit lane as a drag strip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Vineland Speedway used to do that back in the day. They had it straight away with the drag course.
Make some extra income by having a drag strip there, because that's not far out of New York City. Those New York, Long Island drag racing guys would go out there and do it,
Yeah, it might be the simple fact the insurance just might be too high to do.
I don't know. They already have insurance to race cars there. I'm sure they can have a drag strip.
Yeah.
All right, guys. You want to call it a show here?
Well, was there anything we wanted to talk about in Bristol?
Yeah, Bristol went dirt. Unfortunately, they got hammered with rain and it turned into a mud hole. But
it rained pretty hard when I saw pictures of porta johns floating down the road.
I cannot believe they were able to get. I said to Nancy last night when we went to bed, I said, there's no way they're starting that truck race tomorrow at noon. There's no way they're getting that place dried out by noon. And they did. They started right at noon, and the track was dry.
I saw some video. I think it was Jamie Little was out in the parking lot, and she was standing in some water and pointing out like, oh, that's where the campers used to be, and that's flooded out. And over here, it's 4 feet deep of water or whatever. Our stuff got moved in, and then they went to I think it was Regan Smith, standing on the track, and he did the screwdriver test, and apparently it was packed down pretty hard. But it really wasn't too bad. It had some moisture on the top, and he did slip a little bit and almost fell. But other than that, the track itself didn't look so bad. It was more just the surrounding area. You couldn't get into the damn track because everything else was flooded. So
yeah.
But I'm glad to see that they were able to get it in.
They did announce halfway through the Cup race that next year they're going to do it again. The spring race at Bristol is going to be dirt. I'm sure they'll make some changes, maybe a different tire. I just don't know why they're so fixed on trying to run a windshield. Just get rid of the windshield. Go to a screen, let them run tear-offs. During the Cup race, Tim, if you watched, when the sun started setting, they'd have a little bit of dust on their windshield, and then they had the sun glare, and they couldn't see anything. I don't know why they're so dead set on trying to run a windshield.
Mike Joyce said that NASCAR, he said it. He goes, people asked it during the race sometime. Mike Joyce said, NASCAR said, we ran windshields in the 60s. We ran windshields in the 70s. We ran them in the 90s. We're going to run them in the 2000s. Yeah, that's it. No, is it right or wrong? I don't know, but that's what they said.
But were windshields a problem at Eldora, though?
I'm sure they've been a problem somewhere. I don't know, Scott, you race dirt cars. Is it ever a problem?
I would never run a windshield.
I made the mistake of running my.
Yeah, but there again, like as long as the track's dry, yeah, you can get away with a windshield. But if they have a rainstorm like they did yesterday with the truck race, now you got a soaked track and you can't go green because the windshields get covered. They literally went one lap and everybody's windshield was covered and they had to pull in the pits. I don't know. Just get rid of the windshields.
Yeah, I'd say for the one-off event, yeah, you can,
Yeah. Do we need more than one dirt race a year to schedule?
No.
Maybe two, but we need no more than two. You know what I mean?
They make such a big deal out of it.
The Cup schedule's 36 races anyway, or whatever it is. There's so many races. So if you have one race that's really different but not be great, who cares? It's only one race out of 36. Just change it up and switch it up.
That's I say maybe two at a historic place. Somewhere cool that you would never see a race like that.
North Wilkesboro.
Put dirt on North Wilkesboro. I don't know.
I just like the people in the grandstands enjoyed it. It ended up being a good race. Martin Truex Jr. He won the truck race in Kyle Busch's truck, and then Joey Logano won the Cup race. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I actually thought Martin had a good shot to win the Cup race too.
Laps to go,
Yeah. It was good for the Daniel Suarez. He got a good run.
Oh my God, that team is doing awesome for a brand new team, man. They are really overachieving. I mean, they've run good now a few times in a row, and I really thought he had a shot at winning this race. I think he ended up fourth, which is incredible.
It's like, I shouldn't say this because Joey even thanked Joey Logano, thanked Ryan Flores and Victory Lane and Kevin Collins, two guys from New Jersey. I think Kevin Collins actually, is he Pennsylvania?
Yeah, he was from Wind Gap, Pennsylvania, right on 33.
Yeah. But raced everywhere in New Jersey when he could.
He was actually his shot wasn't too far outside of Nazareth.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm tired of seeing Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin winning. It seems like and surprisingly, they haven't won this year at all, I don't think, but it always seems like those two win everything, whenever we're watching it. Yeah. And people,
they didn't think Kevin Collins. They think Kevin.
That's
real name. For some reason, he ran under the name Kevin Collins and not Kevin Buskirk. I don't know why he did that.
Hey, Bubba Wallace finished 27th.
Bubba was actually running pretty good.
He was running in the top 10. Someone blasted him in the left rear and gave him a flat.
Jeez.
Kyle Busch, unfortunately, he was coming up to the field twice and kept getting in wrecks. I guess leading the first lap wasn't the great idea. He was the first train on the track to clear all the crap. Got stuck in his grill and overheated on the first lap there.
It's hard to avoid wrecks on dirt because stopping doesn't work as well.
And I tell you what, Tim, it was probably tough for the spotters as well because it was dusty. When you look down from the top,
I tell you what, I spotted at Syracuse 3 times. And it's a whole nother ball game. You know what I mean? Just you don't think about because a car's inside of you and he's there, but he's not there because you're both sideways. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's not like going anywhere, but he's in there.
When they do a faraway camera from the top of the grandstands down
it's
on the
dusty.
Top, it was dusty.
Yeah,
real dusty.
I was getting to that like at the back straightaway. Syracuse, I can't see you. I don't know what you're doing. Yeah, all I can see is the number of the car. So. It is totally different, yeah.
All right, guys, want to do a quick what have we learned? And I got to get going here. It's almost 9:30 already.
Yeah, let's do that. Tim, you go first. Pressure's on.
What did I learn? I learned that Scott finally drove his dually. Me and Felix had a bet that he probably wouldn't drive that for another year and a half. I guess I lost that bet. What else did I learn?
It's like driving with wide hips.
I learned that Scott won't let me drive his
truck, Josh.
What's that?
A big truck, big inside. It's a big heavy-duty truck, but it's got a little tiny steering wheel in it. It's got the smallest steering wheel.
What is it, like a 12-inch steering wheel or something?
Yeah, big, huge truck. It's got this little steering wheel like out of a Cavalier or something like that. Yeah.
That's for us big cowboys with the big bellies. Yeah. Get in there, get behind that
actually, does it have the radio and stuff controls on the?
I can't afford all that, Josh.
I don't know. I mean, everything comes with the screens now.
Josh, put it this way: when he called me, told me he was ordering a new truck, and he was doing it where you order your own truck. He was upset he couldn't get crank windows anymore. he was flabbergasted that he couldn't order crank windows. So
maybe
got a radio and a steering wheel. You're crazy.
I'll order I'll order one of those trucker knobs and have it shipped to you, Scott.
Suicide knob.
Yeah. Actually, wait. Well, if it's got a small steering wheel, what's the steering box like? I mean, is it like?
It turns good. It turns easy.
Okay. I don't know. 'Cause normally, if they have a tighter box, you got a bigger wheel, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I wasn't.
Well, I just learned something. If you got a tighter box, you got a bigger wheel. So
I didn't learn on this show.
Go ahead, Scott.
Hey, we learned that you got. Sometimes if the show's not going to be that great, you just gotta. The show must go on. It's just
mix it up a little bit, do the best you can with what you got.
So that's all you learned, Scott?
Don't you go on social media. People still got something to complain about. So something must have happened.
Oh yeah. So nothing else, Scott?
No, I'm good.
All right, then today I learned that 2 pickles is okay, but 2 slices of pork roll is not okay.
Unacceptable.
That's all I got. So, we'll do this again next week. We'll see what racing's going on. I think we have a lot of local stuff.
I think New Egypt kicks off next weekend. I think maybe we'll do New Egypt next weekend. I think New Egypt has their opening day next week.
I'm going to be camping, I believe, this coming weekend. But then the weekend after that, you got Grandview.
April 11th.
Do you care about carrying a passenger?
I'll let you know. See who's going with me and stuff.
Okay. No, they want me to film, so
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Cool. Well, that wraps up episode 188 of the RPM podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Wash your hands, everybody.
Yeah, go to some track and then go to Wall on the 17th. I don't know. All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.